Before I say anything else, I want you to do one small thing for me. Notice your shoulders. Don't move them yet. Just notice where they are. For a lot of you, they're up. Pull toward your ears, just slightly. They've been sitting there so long you stopped feeling them. Now notice your jaw. Is it resting or is it holding? And your breath, where is it? Is it low, down in your belly, or is it sitting high in your chest, small and quick? Let the shoulders drop. There it is. That inch you just found, you weren't aware you were holding it, and you've been holding it all day, maybe all year. That is the habit I want to talk about today. Not smoking, not sugar, not the couch. Something quieter than all of them, something almost nobody counts as a habit at all, and there is now good evidence that it can add years to how old your body actually is, on the inside, while the calendar barely moves. It's been running in the background of your life for decades, and in the next hour, I'm going to show you exactly what it's doing, why it hides so well, and how to turn it around with about 10 minutes a day. Stay with me because the fix is much smaller than you think. The habit is chronic stress. And I know, I can already hear the sigh. Stress. Everybody says stress. It's the most worn out word in health advice. Right up there with eat better and move more. It sounds soft. It sounds like something you'd read on a poster in a doctor's waiting room. So let me tell you why I'm giving it a full hour anyway. Because we've been using that word wrong. When most people hear stress, they picture a bad month, a crisis, a funeral, a diagnosis, a job lost, a divorce. Big, loud, obvious things with a beginning and an end. That is not what I'm talking about. Your body handles that kind of stress well. It was built for it. What I'm talking about is the low, constant hum, the kind with no beginning and no end. The phone that sleeps on the nightstand, the news that plays while you eat. The adult child you worry about at 2 in the morning. The bills you do arithmetic on in your head while you're pretending to watch television. The appointment you're already late for before you've left the house. None of those are emergencies. Not one of them would show up on a list of life's hardest events. And that's exactly the problem, because your body doesn't know the difference. Here's the first reason you don't notice it. You've adapted to it. Think about someone who lives near a train line. The first week, every train wakes them. The first month, they still hear it. A year in, they'll swear the trains have stopped running. They haven't. The person just stopped registering the noise. Ask them about it, and they'll tell you, honestly, oh, it's quiet here. That's what chronic stress does. It doesn't feel like stress after a while. It becomes the floor you stand on, the baseline, the normal. Which means if I ask you right now, are you stressed? Most of you will say no, not really. Things are fine, and you'll mean it. But your shoulders were up. This one is subtle, and I want you to sit with it. After enough years, the stress response stops feeling like a response to anything. It starts feeling like who you are. I'm just a worrier. I've always been a light sleeper. I'm a high-energy person. I can't sit still. I'm just not a patient man. Listen to those sentences. Every one of them is a description of a nervous system that has been running hot for a very long time. But we don't hear them that way. We hear them as identity, as personality, as something fixed, like eye color. And you don't try to fix your eye color. You don't put stop being a worrier on a list of health goals, so it never gets addressed, it just runs. This is the big one. This is why chronic stress gets away with what it does. Every single thing it does to you, we have already agreed to call something else. We call it age. Waking up at 3:30 and not getting back down, that's age. The weight that's settled around your middle and won't leave, even though you eat about the same as always, age. Skin that lost its bounce, aches in your lower back and neck, catching every cold that goes around the family, walking into the kitchen and forgetting why, feeling flat, not sad, just flat. Every one of those is on the list of things chronic stress does to a human body. And every one of those is also, in our culture, simply what it looks like to get older. So the two get filed in the same drawer, and when everything ends up in the well, I'm not 20 anymore, drawer, nobody ever goes looking for a cause. You just accept it, adjust your life a little smaller, and move on. I want to be very careful here, so let me say this plainly. I'm not telling you that aging isn't real, or that every ache has a psychological cause. Time is real, bodies change, but somewhere in that pile of just age, there's a portion that isn't age at all, and that portion is reversible. That's what this hour is about, finding the part you can actually take back. And then there's the last reason, which might be the strangest one of all. We reward this. Think about how we talk. Being busy is a compliment. She never stops. He hasn't taken a vacation in 9 years. We say those things with admiration. Being tired is proof you're a serious person. Resting has to be earned, and most of us never quite feel we've earned it. There's a whole generation, and if you're over 50, it's probably yours, that was raised to believe that the pressure is the point, that you push through, that you don't complain, you don't slow down, and you certainly don't sit down in the middle of the afternoon and breathe. Nobody sets out to build this habit. It gets built for you, one reasonable decision at a time, over about 40 years. So here's the picture I want you to carry into the next section. You have inside you a beautiful emergency system. It's fast, it's powerful, and it has kept your ancestors alive for a very long time. When something threatens you, it floods you with chemistry that makes you strong, alert, and focused. It shuts down everything that isn't needed right now: digestion, repair, immune patrol, long-term thinking, and it puts every resource into this moment. It is a superb system. It was designed to run for about 90 seconds, maybe a few minutes. A threat appears, you deal with it, and the system stands down. Chemistry clears. Repair resumes. That's the design. The problem is not that your emergency system turns on. The problem is that it never gets the signal that the emergency is over. Because a mortgage doesn't run away. A worry about your daughter doesn't get resolved in 90 seconds. A phone that might buzz at any moment is a threat that never quite arrives and never quite leaves. So the system stays on, low, quiet, all day, all night, for years. And a system built to run for 90 seconds, left running for 30 years, does damage. Not dramatic damage, slow damage. The kind you'd never trace back to its source. That's the whole story, and now I want to show you exactly how it happens, because once you see the mechanism, you can't unsee it, and you'll finally understand why the fix works. I'm going to walk you through what's actually happening in there. No jargon I don't explain, and no scare tactics. Just the mechanism, step by step, because the mechanism is what makes the solution obvious later. Start here, because everything else hangs off it. Your nervous system has two settings, and they work like the pedals in a car. One is the gas. Scientists call it the sympathetic nervous system, but you know it better by what it does: fight or flight. It's the pedal that gets pushed when a car cuts you off, when the phone rings at midnight, when you can't find your wallet. Heart speeds up, breath goes high and shallow. Muscles tighten, blood leaves your hands and your gut and goes to the big muscles in your arms and legs. Your thinking narrows down to the threat in front of you. The other pedal is the brake, the parasympathetic system. Its nickname is rest and digest, and I'd add a third word: repair. When the brake is on, your heart slows, your breath drops into your belly, blood comes back to your stomach and your skin and your hands. Your body starts digesting, healing, filing memories, patrolling for infection. Here's the part that matters. Those two pedals cannot be pressed at the same time. Whatever fraction of your day the gas is down, the brake is off, and repair is not happening. Hear that again, because it is the whole video in one sentence. Repair only happens with the brake on, and most adults over 50 are riding the gas lightly almost all day long. Not flooring it, just resting a foot on it, all day, every day, for decades. When the gas goes down, your body releases a set of chemicals. Adrenaline is the fast one. That's the jolt, the hot face, the pounding heart. It arrives in seconds and clears in minutes. The one I care about today is the slow one: cortisol. Cortisol is not a villain. I want to be clear about that, because you'll see it written about as if it were poison. It isn't. Cortisol is part of the reason you can get out of bed in the morning. It's supposed to rise in the early hours, peak shortly after you wake, and then drift down across the day until it's at its lowest around bedtime. That daily curve is what makes you alert in the morning and sleepy at night. Without cortisol, you would die. Cortisol's job, in an emergency, is to mobilize, to pull energy out of storage and put it into your blood right now. It raises your blood sugar so the muscles have fuel. It raises your blood pressure so that fuel arrives fast. And it borrows. It breaks down tissue, including muscle, to make more fuel available. It's a body-wide instruction that says, stop building, start spending, we'll settle up later. That's a brilliant instruction for 90 seconds. Now run it for 30 years. Cortisol is catabolic. That's a $10 word for one idea. It breaks things down. When cortisol stays elevated for long stretches, your body treats your own muscle as a fuel reserve and quietly draws it down. You already know that adults lose muscle with age. It has a name: sarcopenia, and it's one of the main reasons people lose their independence. What fewer people know is that a nervous system stuck in the on position speeds that loss up. You can eat well and walk regularly and still be working against a headwind, because the chemistry is telling your body to spend tissue rather than build it. And muscle is not about appearance. Muscle is how you get out of a chair. Muscle is what catches you when you stumble. Muscle is what lets you carry your own groceries at 80. It is the last thing you want to be quietly selling off. Here's one that surprises people, and it's the one you can see in the mirror. The scaffolding under your skin is collagen. It's what makes skin bounce back when you press it. Cortisol interferes with collagen. It slows the making of new collagen and speeds up the breakdown of what's already there. That's why people going through a very hard year seem to age visibly in that year. You've seen it. You've probably said it about someone. She looks like she's aged 5 years. That isn't your imagination, and it isn't only tiredness. There's chemistry behind it. I mention this not because I think you should worry about wrinkles. I mention it because your skin is the visible edge of a process happening everywhere else too. If you can see it on a face, it's also happening in the joints, in the blood vessels, in the lining of the gut. Now, the middle. This is the complaint I hear more than almost any other from adults over 50. I'm eating about the same as I always did. I'm walking. And it all goes to my stomach now. There's a reason it goes there specifically. Cortisol pushes fat toward the abdomen, and particularly toward the deep fat that packs in around the organs. Doctors call it visceral fat. It's the firm kind of belly, not the soft kind you can pinch, and it behaves differently from fat anywhere else in the body. It's metabolically active, meaning it doesn't just sit there, it sends out inflammatory signals of its own. There's a loop hiding in that. Stress raises cortisol. Cortisol sends fat to the middle. Fat in the middle raises inflammation. Inflammation stresses the system, and around it goes. There's a second piece too. Cortisol raises blood sugar on purpose. That was the point. Fuel for the emergency. But if there is no emergency, that sugar has nowhere to go, and your body answers with insulin, over and over, day after day. Do that for years, and cells start responding less to insulin. That's the doorway to type 2 diabetes, and a lot of people walk through it in their 50s and 60s without ever having changed how they eat. Every time the gas pedal goes down, your blood pressure goes up. That's by design, and it's fine, for a moment. The trouble is what constant pressure does to the pipes. Blood vessels aren't rigid tubes, they're living tissue, lined with a delicate single layer of cells. Keep the pressure elevated, and that lining gets worn and irritated vessel walls are where plaque begins to build. This is why a life of low-grade, unrelenting pressure shows up decades later on a cardiologist's report. Not from one bad day, from 20,000 of them. Now the brain. This is the part I most want you to hear, because it sits underneath every other fear about aging. Deep in your brain, on each side, there's a small structure shaped like a seahorse. It's called the hippocampus, and it's where new memories get formed and filed. It's the part that answers, "Where did I put my keys? And what did she just say her name was?" The hippocampus is unusually rich in receptors for cortisol, which means it listens very closely to stress chemistry, and prolonged high cortisol is associated with the hippocampus working less well and, over long stretches, losing volume. Meanwhile, a different structure, the amygdala, your alarm bell, tends to get more reactive under chronic stress, not less. Put those together, and you get a very specific experience. Your alarm gets louder and easier to trip. Your memory filing system gets slower and less reliable. You become a person who is more easily startled, more easily irritated, and who cannot come up with the name of a man you've known for 11 years. And then you go home, and at some point you think, this is it. This is the beginning of losing my mind. I want to say something directly to anyone who has had that thought at 3 in the morning. The memory trouble that comes from a nervous system stuck in the on position is not the same thing as dementia, and much of it improves when the system comes back down. It's one of the more reversible items on this entire list. People who bring their stress load down often find, within weeks, that words arrive faster and the fog lifts. That doesn't mean you should ignore memory changes. Always take those to your doctor. It means don't assume the worst before you've looked at the simplest cause. Remember the cortisol curve, high in the morning, low at bedtime. Chronic stress flattens that curve. Cortisol stays higher than it should in the evening, and that's a problem because falling cortisol is part of how your body knows it's time to sleep. So you lie down tired and your mind is bright, or you fall asleep fine and come wide awake at 3:30, heart going a little fast, thinking about something that will not be solved at 3:30. Here's the trap. Deep sleep is when your body clears stress chemistry. Deep sleep is when the brain runs its rinse cycle and flushes out the waste that builds up during the day. So the stress steals the sleep, and the missing sleep leaves the stress chemistry in place for tomorrow. And tomorrow you have fewer reserves and less patience, and everything feels slightly more threatening than it is. That loop is the engine of this whole thing. Almost everyone who is aging faster than they should is somewhere inside it. There's a word researchers use for one of the central processes of aging. They call it inflammaging. Inflammation and aging, joined together. Inflammation itself is a good thing. It's how you heal a cut. Redness, swelling, heat, that's your immune system arriving at the scene. The trouble comes when the response never switches off and instead simmers at a low level everywhere, all the time. That low simmer is now linked to most of what we think of as the diseases of getting older: heart disease, type 2 diabetes, arthritis, several cancers, and cognitive decline. Chronic stress is one of the most reliable ways to keep the fire lit. Two things happen to your immune system under long-term stress. It gets less effective where you need it, fighting off what's going around the family, and more active where you don't. There's a study I think about often. Researchers at Ohio State University worked with people caring for a spouse with Alzheimer's disease, one of the most relentless, unending stresses a person can carry. Each participant received a small, identical, standardized wound, and the researchers measured how long it took to close, compared with people of similar age who weren't caregiving. The caregivers healed about 24% slower, roughly 9 extra days for the same small wound. Sit with what that means. Same wound, same age, same care. The only difference was what these people had been carrying, and their bodies repaired themselves 9 days slower. If it does that to a wound you can see, ask what it's doing to the thousands of small repairs your body is meant to be making every day, where you can't see them. And now the finding that changed how I think about all of this. You need one piece of biology first, and it's a nice one. Your DNA is packed into chromosomes, and at the end of each chromosome there's a protective cap. The usual comparison is the plastic tip on the end of a shoelace, and it's a good one. The job is to keep the end from fraying. Those caps are called telomeres. Every time a cell divides, its telomeres get a little shorter. When they get too short, the cell can't divide safely anymore. It either dies or it settles into a strange half-alive state where it stops doing its job and starts leaking inflammatory signals into the neighborhood. Telomere length is one of the better markers we have for biological age, how old your cells actually are, as opposed to how many birthdays you've had. In 2004, a team at the University of California, San Francisco published a study that landed hard. Elissa Apel and Elizabeth Blackburn later won a Nobel Prize for her work on telomeres, studied mothers caring for a chronically ill child, day in, day out stress with no end date. They measured two things: how long each woman had been caregiving and how stressed she said she felt. Then they measured her telomeres. The women reporting the highest stress had markedly shorter telomeres than the women reporting the lowest. Translated into years, the gap was on the order of a decade or more of extracellular aging. 10 years or more. Not from illness, not from smoking, from what these women were carrying. Let me be honest about the limits of one study. It was small. It measured stress as people described it. Science has argued about the details ever since, as it should. But the direction has held up across a great deal of work since, and there's a finding underneath it that I find genuinely hopeful. It wasn't mainly the amount of stress in these women's lives that tracked with their cells. It was how stressed they felt. Two women in nearly identical circumstances could show very different biology, depending on what was happening inside their nervous systems. That tells you something enormous. You may not be able to remove what's on your plate. Most people over 50 can't. You can't resign from being a parent. You can't resign from a body that has started asking for more maintenance, or from the person you're caring for. But the biological damage doesn't come from the circumstance itself. It comes from the state your body sits in while you carry it. And that state can be changed. Deliberately, in minutes a day. So, let me collapse all of that into a single sentence, because the second half of this video is built on it. The damage doesn't come from stress. It comes from the absence of recovery. Your body isn't harmed by the gas pedal going down. It's harmed by never coming off it. A heart rate that climbs and then settles belongs to a healthy person. A heart rate that climbs and stays there is a bill quietly gathering interest. So the goal is not a stress-free life. There's no such thing, and anyone selling you one is selling you something. The goal is to get the brake pedal working again, to give your body clear, repeated, unmistakable signals that the emergency is over so it can get back to the repair work it has been trying to do all along. And here's why I wanted to make this video. That brake is not hard to press. It isn't expensive. It isn't a supplement or a device or a program you buy. Your body has been waiting for the signal for a very long time, and it answers quickly when it finally gets one. Let me show you exactly how to send it. What follows is a 4-week plan, 1 change a week. Nothing you have to buy, nothing that takes more than about 10 minutes, nothing that requires you to become a different kind of person. 2 rules before we start. First rule, you add 1 thing per week and you keep the previous ones. By the end, you'll be doing 4 small things, and together they'll take you about 15 minutes a day, not 2 hours, not a lifestyle overhaul, 15 minutes. Second rule, and this one matters more than the first, consistency beats intensity every time. 10 minutes every day will do more for your nervous system than 2 hours on Sunday. This isn't like exercise, where a long session banks real work. This is about teaching your body a pattern. Patterns are built by repetition, not by effort. Let's begin. Your first assignment is a walk. 10 minutes, outside if you possibly can. And there's one condition that makes this different from every walk you've taken this year. Nothing in your ears, no podcast, no music, no phone call, no radio, and the phone stays in your pocket, or better, at home. I know how that sounds. For most people, this is the hardest part of the entire month, and I want to explain why I'm asking for it. Because if I just told you take a walk, you'd take your usual walk, and your usual walk isn't doing what you think it's doing. Here's the thing about your attention. As far as your nervous system is concerned, information is stimulation. when you walk while listening to the news, or a podcast about a problem, or even a friend on the phone describing something difficult, you are moving your legs while keeping your foot on the gas. Your body is walking. Your nervous system is still at work. Take the input away, and something happens that most adults haven't experienced in years. Your attention has nowhere to go, so it drifts outward, to the trees, the sky, the temperature of the air, the sound of your own feet. That drifting is not wasted time. That is the break going on. Now, I'll warn you about the first 3 days, because if I don't, you'll quit. The first few times, you may feel restless, twitchy. You may reach for your pocket without deciding to. And around minute 4, the thinking may get loud. The worries you've been outrunning tend to show up when you finally stop feeding them something else to look at. Some people find the first walks genuinely uncomfortable. That's not a sign it isn't working. It's a sign of how long the gas has been down. Keep going. By about day 4 or 5, something shifts, and the walk starts to feel like the best 10 minutes of your day. A few practical notes. Morning is best if you can manage it. And here's a bonus. Morning light on your eyes helps set the internal clock that governs your cortisol curve and your sleep that night. 1 walk, 2 benefits. If mornings don't work, after dinner is the next best. That one helps your blood sugar too. If you can't get outside, weather, mobility, safety, whatever the reason, do it indoors. Walk the house, walk a hallway, sit by a window and look outside for 10 minutes without a screen. The walking matters less than the absence of input. And if 10 minutes is genuinely too much right now, do 3. I mean that. 3 honest minutes beats a 10-minute plan you abandon on Thursday. That's week 1. 1 walk, nothing in your ears, every day for 7 days. Week 2, you keep the walk and you add the single fastest tool in this whole video. You're going to breathe on purpose for 2 minutes a day. Stay with me, because I know how this sounds, and I want to give you the mechanism rather than ask you to take it on faith. This isn't a relaxation exercise. It's closer to a switch. Your heart rate is not steady. It speeds up slightly when you breathe in, and it slows down slightly when you breathe out. That's happening right now, in you. Breathe in, heart accelerates a little. Breathe out, heart decelerates a little. That deceleration on the exhale is your vagus nerve, the main cable of the brake system, doing its work, which hands you something remarkable. Breathing is the only part of this whole automatic system you can drive by hand. You can't decide to lower your blood pressure. You can't decide to lower cortisol. But you can decide how you breathe, and the breath reaches into the machinery and moves it. So the rule is simple. Make the out breath longer than the in breath, and the brake goes on. Here's how to do it. Breathe in through your nose for a count of 4. Then breathe out, slowly, through your mouth or your nose for a count of 6. That's it. In for 4, out for 6. Let the in-breath go low, into the belly, rather than high into the chest. If you put a hand on your stomach, you want to feel that hand move. Do that for 2 minutes. Roughly 10 to 12 rounds. Some people prefer a version called the double inhale, and if you like it, use it. 2 short breaths in through the nose, a normal one, then a small top-up, followed by 1 long, slow breath out. It's the shape of a sigh, which is not a coincidence. Sighing is your body's own built-in reset, and it's been doing it for you a few times an hour your whole life without asking. When should you do this? 3 moments work best. Before a meal, because digestion only really runs with the brake on. A minute of long exhales before you eat changes how the meal sits. At the moment you notice you're wound up. Traffic, bad news, a difficult phone call, the little jolt when the phone buzzes. This is when it's worth the most, because you are catching the gas pedal and lifting your foot within minutes instead of hours. And in bed. If you're lying there at 3:30 with your heart going, this is the tool. It won't make the worry disappear, but it takes the physical charge out from underneath it, and very often you go back to sleep. One more thing about week 2, and it's a hard truth. Scrolling is not recovery. Neither is the news. Neither, honestly, is most television. You may sit down at 9 at night, feeling worn out, and pick up the phone to relax. But your body isn't relaxing. It's getting a fast drip of small alarms, judgments, and other people's problems, all while lying still. That's a strange and modern combination. No movement, plenty of alarm. It's rest for the body and gas for the nerves, which is close to the worst arrangement available. I'm not asking you to give up your phone. I'm asking you to stop counting it as rest and to notice how you feel after 20 minutes of it compared with 20 minutes of almost anything else. That's week 2. Keep the walk. Add 2 minutes of long exhales. Week 3 is about the end of the day, because this is where most people over 50 are losing the fight. Your body was designed for a signal we've almost eliminated, the fading of the light. For all of human history, evening meant it got darker, quieter, and cooler. And every one of those things told the body the day was over, lower the cortisol, raise the melatonin, get ready to repair. Now evening looks exactly like noon. Same brightness, same noise, same information. Your body never gets the memo, and so it never fully shifts gears. So you're going to give it the memo yourself. I call it the closing hour, and there are 3 pieces. Piece 1. Cut the input an hour before bed. That means news, work email, and anything with an argument in it. This is the one I get the most resistance on, and I understand it. For a lot of people, the evening news is a 50-year habit. But you've spent this hour learning what a threat signal does to a body, and the late news is a threat signal delivered directly into the hour your body is supposed to be standing down. If you can't cut it entirely, move it earlier. Watch it at 6 instead of 10. That single change has helped more people sleep than any supplement I know of. Piece 2. Dim the lights. Not off, down. Bright overhead light, late in the evening, tells your brain it's still daytime and holds back the hormones of sleep. So in the last hour, use lamps instead of ceiling lights. It sounds almost too small to matter. It matters. Do it for 4 nights and you'll feel the difference in how easily you get down. Piece 3. The notebook. Keep a cheap paper notebook next to your bed. Before you turn out the light, write down whatever's unresolved, what's on tomorrow, what you're worried about, the thing you have to remember to call about. Here's why this works. A lot of what wakes you at 3 in the morning is your brain rehearsing tasks it's afraid it will forget. It doesn't have a filing cabinet, so it keeps repeating the item to keep it alive. Writing it down gives it a filing cabinet. The rehearsal can stop. 2 lines is enough. It doesn't have to be pretty, and nobody is going to read it. And if you do wake at 3:30 despite all this, here's the protocol. Don't reach for the phone, the light, and the information will finish waking you. Instead, do the long exhale breathing from week 2. If you're still awake after 20 minutes or so, get up, go to another room, keep the lights low, and read something undemanding on paper until you're sleepy. Then go back. That sounds counterproductive, and it's the approach sleep specialists teach, because lying in bed frustrated teaches your body that bed is a place of struggle. That's week 3. Walk, breathe, close the day. The last week is the hardest, and it has nothing to do with your body. Week 4, you're going to remove one obligation from your life. 1. Something recurring, something you do out of habit or duty rather than because it means anything to you now. The committee. The volunteer slot you took in 2016. The weekly favor everyone assumes you'll keep doing. The standing arrangement that leaves you tired for 2 days afterward. Take one thing off and don't replace it. I want to say something about this to the people it will be hardest for. If you're over 50, there's a good chance you were raised to be the reliable one, the one who says yes, the one who doesn't make a fuss, and there's a decent chance you're now carrying a load that grew for 40 years without anyone ever checking whether it still fits. Every yes you don't mean is a small, ongoing withdrawal from your nervous system. Not because the task is hard, but because part of you resents it and can't say so, and that unspoken tension is exactly the kind of low-grade threat signal we've been talking about for the last 40 minutes. You don't need a dramatic exit. I've had to cut back on my commitments this year, so I won't be able to keep doing this is a complete sentence. You don't owe anyone the reasoning. And now the other half of week 4, which is the more pleasant one. Put something back in the space you just made, but it has to be something with no purpose. That's the requirement. No goal, no output, nothing that produces anything. Reading a real book, gardening, fishing, music you actually sit and listen to instead of using as background, a card game with a friend, working with your hands on something that doesn't matter. Our whole culture is built on the idea that time should produce something. And for a nervous system that has been running hot for decades, purposeless time is not a luxury. It's the medicine. It's one of the few states in modern adult life where nothing is being demanded of you and your body can finally hear that the emergency is over. There's a second piece worth adding here, and the research on it is strong enough that I'd be leaving something out if I skipped it. Real conversation, in person, without a screen, is one of the most reliable brake pedal activities there is. Not a text, not a comment, sitting across from somebody with your face and theirs. If week 4 gives you back a Tuesday evening, consider giving that Tuesday to a person. That's the month. 4 weeks, 4 changes, about 15 minutes a day. Before we move on, let me save you from 4 mistakes I see constantly. Don't try all 4 at once. I know the temptation. It's a good plan, so why not start everything on Monday? Because 4 new things at once is itself a source of pressure, and by Thursday, you'll be doing none of them, 1 per week. That's the design. Don't use alcohol as your break. It feels like one. That first drink genuinely does take the edge off, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise. But sedation is not recovery. Alcohol pushes you into shallower sleep in the second half of the night and tends to be what has you awake at 3:30 with your heart going. It borrows calm from tonight and charges it to tomorrow. Don't turn this into another performance. Don't get a device that scores your recovery and then lie awake worrying about your score. I've watched people turn stress management into a new source of stress, and it's a genuinely absurd place to end up. No tracking is required here. Your body will tell you. And don't wait until things calm down. Nothing calms down. There is no quiet season coming when you'll finally have the space for a 10-minute walk. The walk is what you do while things are loud. That's the entire point. Let me tell you what to watch for, and roughly when. In the first week or two, the first thing most people notice is sleep. Falling asleep faster, or waking at 3 and getting back down instead of lying there. That's the earliest and clearest signal. Around week 2 or 3, watch your hands. Cold hands and cold feet are a classic sign of the gas being down, blood pulled away from the extremities toward the big muscles. When the brake comes on, blood comes back. A lot of people notice their hands are simply warmer, and they can't explain why. Around the same time, watch your morning. Not whether you're tired, whether there's a tightness in your chest or your stomach in the first minute after you wake, before anything has even happened. That anticipatory grip is one of the purest markers of a nervous system running hot, and when it starts to loosen, you'll feel it. Somewhere around 3 to 4 weeks, watch the gap. Something goes wrong, a piece of bad news. Someone cuts you off, the machine at the bank eats your card, and you notice a small pause between the event and your reaction. A quarter of a second where you can choose. That gap is your alarm system turning down its volume, and it's the most satisfying change on this list. Then the slower ones. Digestion settles, because digestion only really runs with the brake on. Words come back faster. The recurring aches in the neck, jaw, and lower back start to ease, because a lot of that is muscle that has been braced for years. And over months, the things measured in blood pressure, blood sugar, inflammatory markers start to move in the right direction. I'm not going to tell you that 10 minutes a day undoes 30 years. It doesn't. What it does is stop the accrual and start the repair, and given how the biology works, that's the whole ballgame. Let me pull the whole hour back together, because if you remember nothing else, I want you to remember this shape. There's a habit that ages you faster than almost anything else, and it isn't on any of the usual lists. It's chronic stress, not the crisis kind, the quiet kind, the hum, the shoulders that never come down. It hides for 4 reasons. You've adapted to it, so it feels like normal. It's disguised itself as your personality, so it feels like who you are. Its symptoms have another name. We call them age, and we admire it, so nobody ever suggests you stop. Underneath, the mechanism is simple. You have a gas pedal and a brake, and they can't both be down. Your emergency system was built to run for 90 seconds. Left running for 30 years, it quietly spends your muscle, thins the scaffolding under your skin, sends fat to your middle, keeps pressure on your arteries, dulls the part of your brain that files memory, steals the deep sleep where repair happens, keeps a low fire of inflammation burning, and, as best we can measure it, wears down the caps at the ends of your chromosomes that mark how old your cells actually are. And then the sentence that matters most. The damage doesn't come from stress. It comes from the absence of recovery. Which is why the answer is not a stress-free life. Nobody gets one. The answer is teaching your body to come back down, on purpose, every single day. 10 minutes of walking with nothing in your ears, 2 minutes of breathing out longer than you breathe in, an hour at the end of the day that actually looks like an ending, and one obligation off the plate replaced with something that has no purpose at all. That's it. That's the whole prescription. About 15 minutes a day, and it costs nothing. I want to speak for a moment to a specific group of you, because I know you're watching. Twice in this hour, the research I leaned on came from caregivers. The people healing a wound 9 days slower, the mothers whose cells looked a decade older than the calendar said. That's not an accident of which studies I picked. It's because caregiving is the purest example we have of stress, with no end date, and it's therefore where the damage is easiest to see. If you are looking after a husband, a wife, a parent, an adult child, you may have listened to this whole hour thinking, that's fine for other people, but none of that is coming off my plate. You're right, it isn't. I'm not going to insult you by suggesting otherwise. But go back to what those researchers actually found. The strongest signal wasn't the number of hours of care. It was the state these women were living in while they gave it. Two people carrying nearly identical loads showed very different biology, and the difference was what was happening inside their nervous systems. That's not a small consolation. That's the door. You may not be able to put the weight down. You can still take 10 minutes in the morning and walk to the corner and back with nothing in your ears. You can still breathe out longer than you breathe in while the kettle boils. Those minutes are not stolen from the person you're caring for. They're what allows you to keep going, in a body that's still repairing itself, for as long as they need you. There is nothing selfish about staying intact. Here's how I want to leave you. Do the thing I asked you to do at the very beginning. Notice your shoulders. An hour has gone by. If they're up again, and for many of you they are, that's not a failure. That's the honest measurement. That's 40 years of practice reasserting itself, which is exactly what a habit does. Let them drop. Feel that inch. That inch is the whole thing. That is what your body has been asking for, on and off, for decades. Permission to stand down. Not for an hour, not for a holiday you keep postponing, just for a few minutes, reliably, so it can get back to the work of repairing you. You cannot control your genes. You can't control the number on the calendar, and you can't control most of what life is going to put in front of you in the years ahead. But you have a great deal of say over how much of your life your body spends braced for something that isn't happening. And that turns out to be one of the most powerful things you can change. Start tomorrow morning. 10 minutes. Nothing in your ears. That's all I'm asking. If this hour named something you've been feeling for years without having a word for it, do me one favor. Subscribe and turn the bell on. This channel is built for people over 50 who are done being told that everything is just age, and there's a new one every week. And leave me a comment with one thing, just one. Where were your shoulders when I asked you at the start? I read them, and it tells me what to make next. If you're going to keep going, watch the video on the screen now. It goes deeper into what actually happens to your body while you sleep, which, after this hour, you'll understand is the other half of the same story. Take care of yourself. I'll see you in the next one.